Welcome to Fried Green Left Wing Episode 7. I'm John, joined by Ashley and Derek. President Biden has signed 42 executive orders since becoming president. The Reddit army is crushing Wall Street, upsetting the rich, and Bernie Sanders has been schooling the Senate on what socialism for the rich really means and how Republicans have enabled it for a long time. Derek, let's start with you. Thoughts, feelings about this week?
So for me, the huge kicker is the Reddit army online kicking the shit out of Wall Street. They have seemingly manipulated the market in their favor in ways on where they have calls for possible regulations to be created, because that's a thing. It's okay whenever the hedge fund people do it, but not us. Now, I have my pros and cons about this situation and on how it can be motivated, but I really don't know much about the stock market. I have a 401k, and that's about the extent of it, which is part of my cons because, I could be potentially losing money on this because of that. However, anytime I get to see people like us get ahead because of little things like this, I freaking love it. And I'll take the loss if it does. Because it is what it is. And we've been calling for more regulations on the stock market. They have seemingly manipulated the market time and time again. And the moment that little people do it, we need regulations.
I know, they're crying.
Now. We need to start this now. We're filing for bankruptcy. It's like, well, you should have planned ahead for that.
Yeah. We need here's the narrative. It's like we need to protect individual investors from themselves because they're too stupid to know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah.
That's what I've been seeing. And then there's the straight up, like, there's the other end where, like, what was his name? Leon Cooperman. He's a billionaire. I guess he did an interview today. I want to say it was today, where he was whining about the whole GameStop thing, and talking about how it wasn't going to end well for the public, and the hedge funds, I guess, are always right, and he was mad about what did he say? Something about all this taxing the rich is bullshit or whatever, or like wanting to tax the rich, but anyway, it was basically just a cry fest, and it's funny because, like, they're not used to losing, and you can tell. These hedge funds that tried to short squeeze these guys, they lost billions, and it's awesome because, like, you're seeing a coordinated movement of individual traders based on a concentrated social media website. There's millions of them, and it's not just here. They've pulled people in from Canada, they've pulled people in from the UK, from Asia, from all of these different countries, precisely because of the reaction from Robinhood and from Wall Street and I believe it's CNBC in particular for the media organizations. And I love the response from people like Elizabeth Warren. They're just like, oh, well, that's too bad, and it's actually, I think it's making certain people that wouldn't normally like her or those sorts of politicians actually, view them favorably. But I'm all for it. These people need to see that there are a lot more of us than there are of them. And yeah, they can play the whole, pitting everyone against each other game, and that's kind of what's been going on forever.
Well, that's probably the most scariest part for them.
Yeah.
Is when the ants decide that, they're gonna collectively pick up the chocolate bar and go home.
Well, notice, and this is what I've said. I've told you that all of our splitting off into factions and our tribalism and all of maybe not all, but probably 99% of the hi there. actually got a Torque.
No explanation.
Okay. We were talking about GameStop.
Oh yeah.
But just to finish my thought real quick, I've said that most of the issues that have been plaguing our country, and particularly socially, have been rooted in economics. And our factioning has been part of that. Our splitting off into two groups like the Proud Boys and Antifa and all of these things. The left and the right, men and women, various races, LGBTQ and straight and so on and so forth. Like they've politically split people, but when it comes to a purely economic issue like this, notice how everyone bands together because politics is removed. This is a common cause that everyone has. And it would be nice if people would realize based on this moment. And I don't have super high hopes, but it would be nice if for just 1 second people could realize that this is the whole fight. That is one, that particular thing is representative of the main, basically the whole war. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, money is a, great tool to unite people under.
Right. It is the tool, and that's why they keep people distracted with these petty, socio-political issues.
Petty divisive issues are just pointless, but they weaken the larger group.
Yeah, exactly. The more you can split people up, the easier it is to dominate them.
And the basest issues of sexual orientation, ethnicity, color,
right.
religion.
Divide and conquer. I mean,
yeah, that's a huge one.
Well, like you bring up the economics situation, and yes, that is a massive, massive part of it. A lot of people, especially in rural areas, want to talk about violent cities. They want to talk about all of that stuff. And it's like, yeah, there's violence in cities. You have a large accumulation of people in those areas, packed in tight spaces on where the economic gap can vary from street to street. Anytime that you have that, anytime you have a large portion of impoverished areas, you're going to run into crime of some sort. You look at the violent neighborhoods, a lot of those times, they are poor neighborhoods, including in rural areas. Some of your most, Tennessee is, I think it's in the top 5 most violent states. I was trying to look it up right now, but a lot of your most violent states are the poorest states in the country. Right. But a lot of times the most violent states get overran by violent areas, and those two are not, like, people want to make those two. They want to make one comparison without the other, is what I'm trying to get at.
Rural states want to compare their societal stressors to those of urban areas, and there is no comparison.
Yes, that's what I was trying to say.
And they don't have the ethnicity, they don't have the broad spectrum of ethnicity. They quite often don't have the broad spectrum of financial status. It's an all of us are poor, and a few of us are wealthy, and ain't much in the middle class side. So all of us poor people, we in it together against those city slickers, is what they're saying. Okay, and certainly sometimes when those stressors do come to the rural counties, they throw their hands up. They don't know how to deal with it. It's a horrible thing. How did OxyContin get into Eastern Kentucky and so many people? All right.
Yeah.
The doctor's office.
Yeah.
That's right. The tragedy being the failure to recognize that we all in this together. Instead, they'd rather point fingers and say, "Look at those people in the city. They dress funny, they talk funny, and they don't know how to plant corn." Yeah. And while the people in the city say, is that the people in the city, say the inner city, just wait for that rube to come in to sell him that bridge over the Hudson.
Right.
it's divisive and it's pointless. I don't care. I don't care if John wants to wear a skirt. Okay, I just not that I've seen him do it. And I don't care about your religion. I know it's that cute crap. That's a bit weird. Just don't bring it home. Just don't bring it to me. I don't care. But these people, we care about the simplest, stupidest things, and then divide up teams over those stupid facts.
You don't care that I'm a raging fundamentalist?
Well, you got to quit. Small animals around the house disappear because you sacrificed them all.
To Jesus.
Now, for me to continue that point,
sacrificing animals to Jesus?
No. I was talking about as for the economic situation.
Yay, sacrifice me to the devil.
That sacrifice I'll make.
Nice.
If you all saw that South Park episode back in the day.
Oh yeah, the one with little animals.
Yeah, and the blood orgy.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh,
and Dad's like, what?
Well, we do have Valentine's Day.
Bill's watching South Park. Aren't you watching South Park, Bill?
But did you see that of the Flintstones where Barney stole Fred's car on the phone?
I think I did back in the day.
Now, we do have Valentine's Day coming up, so the blood orgy thing actually might make more sense. Love pagan holidays. But getting back to the whole economic situation, this is a clear indication that the 1% is still trying to hold on to that power, which is why I feel as if the minimum wage does need to be increased, and that regulations do need to happen, but not in the way in which they're being used, and what I've got a feeling that they're going to try to push going forward from this situation alone. I've got a feeling that we need to pay very, very close attention to the regulations that are about to be made, because something is coming, and this, you've got Robinhood already freezing accounts that are dealing with GameStop and AMC, which are two companies right now that they're on the brink right now. They were both on the brink, and they were betting on them to lose, and people came in and have pretty much saved those two companies, but it is only temporary until the shoe falls.
Well, Reddit is saying, I'm seeing here that on Bloomberg, silver is being targeted like GameStop. It's going up, and Reddit traders are driving the cost of oil up, which is going to hit you in the gas tank, me in the gas tank. And that's what happened back in 2008 to 2007.
How are Reddit traders driving the cost of oil up? They invested in it was like futures or
in drillers and in oil.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Because you're a tiny company, oil company, goes up 959% after Reddit praise spreads to oil.
Well,
they're doing it to certain cryptos as well.
Yeah. They're flexing their muscles at this point because they know they've got them.
Well, as I was, this right here should be a sure sign for everybody that the stock market does not matter. It at the end of the day, it is a gamble on everything. It is not a sign of our economy.
Here's my question. So think about this for a second. You've got this stock. It's the stock market in general, but you've got this stock. You've got hedge funds that are being overpowered by, in the grand scheme of things, not that many people. If you think about it, it is millions of people, but when you consider the population as a whole, and you consider the fact that you've also got foreign investors, The spread of this is probably not as far as one would think. But that's enough to overpower and completely upset the stock market. Now think about the implications of that. How few people and how few of these hedge funds and these companies really, um, partake in the day-to-day functioning of the stock market. And the truth is, not that many. A very small percentage of people, normally, the richest of us, are the ones that are typically profiting off of the stock market, or playing it on a regular basis at all. And
people explains why. I mean,
yeah,
three people own more net worth than the rest of the entire nation.
Right. That's where it if you think about it, that's kind of what's going on here. You've got all of these people that have all of a sudden decided to throw their money at this one thing to prove that they can, because, individually, no, we don't have much. They've made sure of that. But the thing is even though they've got a ton of money, there are so few of them that, what are they going to do?
Well, those three people have money, and they look at it differently because they don't have to worry about the money they're using as their rent money or their food money or the gas money. They're looking at money as a piece on the board to move about.
Well, the other thing too is like these companies, like this hedge fund that's at the center of all this. They over leverage themselves, and they didn't really think about this. I mean, obviously, they didn't think this was any kind of risk. But they got caught with their pants down, and now they're suffering the consequences. And they're trying to they are manipulating the market in order to try to complete the trade that they were trying to complete.
And they're manipulating the market by also not allowing the people to really significantly trade those companies now.
Right.
They've put a hold on all of it.
Well, they tried to stop them from selling. Or from buying, and then they're allowing selling.
Yes. That's the only thing that they're allowing to do, is allowing people to sell the stocks that they have, which is manipulating the market in the same exact way that they manipulated it, that they're bitching about now, because these other companies, these hedge funds, can still continue to trade their market. Like, if they wanted to buy these, they can now buy them.
Yeah.
But we can't.
Right. It's like, glad to know that, if I just want a stock to go up forever or down forever, I can just, build that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, is that how that works?
Well, and Robinhood has also put a stop to instant direct deposits right now, so you can't just load up your account and go buy a bunch of shit.
Now, another thing that I did read about Robinhood, just to let people know that I was reading it this morning. They allowed they did not tell anybody. They did not inform their customers that they were about to put the freeze on it. They allowed their app to become the #1 downloaded app, and then they just immediately did it.
Right.
Like the two companies in question right now, GameStop and AMC, they just disappeared from the Robinhood app.
Yeah. Well, they also, Robinhood was funded by, was it Citadel LLC? It's a pretty big, I believe, I don't know if they're a hedge fund as well or investment company. I don't know much about this stuff, but anyway, they also, I believe, have ties to the investment company that was trying to short the stock.
No.
So they've got their hands in a lot of this. And there's a place to trace it back.
It's a fixed game. Let's be clear. This is a fixed game they're playing. Okay?
Yeah.
They're skimming.
Right. House always wins.
They're exactly what I was about to say. They're the house.
Exactly.
And they don't play to lose. They are playing to win. They're playing for you to lose.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's the whole point.
And the whole point about playing is that you've got to win sometime. Keep playing. So and people have to see you win to keep playing.
Yeah. And it's funny because like there are companies that are talking about filing and people talking about filing lawsuits against these individual traders because they're not you know, buying because of fundamentals. It's like there's plenty of people that don't buy stock because of fundamentals. They buy stocks because they like the company and want the company to survive.
Oh, they read the news and they gauge what might occur next. You know,
Yeah.
it might be a war. Someone will buy some defense contractors. Oil might go up. We'll buy some
Yeah.
more. It goes up. You know.
I mean,
Now, I'm waiting. I'm waiting for it to crash so I can pick up the pieces.
right under that, if you were to use that as a rule, like anytime someone reads a news article, that that's pretty much illegal. Like,
yeah, I mean, anytime the economy dips, if you start investing in what they call sin stocks, I mean, that I guess would be too much foresight.
right. If you're looking at anything other than fundamentals, like that makes no sense.
So
I like this. Now, sin stocks, I can get into that.
Yeah, I mean, beer, other major alcohol providers, cigarette companies.
Oil companies, another one, because I heard that BP is about to, by 2030, is wanting to cut their oil uses down 40% by 2030.
Well, did you see GM's announcement this week?
About the semi?
No, that they are going to, they have a plan. They're only going to produce electric cars by 2035. So, cool. The oil companies might be feeling the heat from that.
And they're scrapping oil tankers.
Oh, yeah.
And they're bitching about the canceling of a pipeline.
Yeah.
All those jobs weren't, because once that pipeline had been constructed, it only provided 35 permanent jobs.
Right, exactly. The people that are bitching, they know they're lying. It's basically just their temp jobs.
And
it's the nature of the industry.
The temp jobs they're bitching about is the construction jobs, and there were only 11,000 people working. The construction company projected 11,000. People said 11,000 jobs gone. Well, that's not true. And keep in mind, what happens if they had built it to all those people that work in trains and trucks transporting oil right now? They lose their jobs with 35 permanent jobs.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, Republicans think you can put coal back in the ground in eastern Kentucky.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that I was going to bring up is that on top of the Keystone being canceled, they also fired back with, I forget how, they said something about, I think it was $40 million invested into solar panels and other green energy sources that they're committing to now because of the cancellation. So you finally put their feet to the fire and say no, and they're like, oh, okay, then we're going to do this. They've already got backup plans. They're waiting for all of this stuff to finally come through, and they're sitting on it because as of right now they don't have to move.
Right,
so as long as you don't have to move, they're not going to.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned BP. I've known for quite a while they've had a lot of alternate energy programs, such as, they are one of the bigger solar companies. They've got that algae to hydrogen process out in the desert. So
keep in mind that they want to hang on to the past because it's cheaper.
Yes.
Okay. The reason that they kept shoveling coal towards coal-fired electric plants was because all they did was modify them, fix them, extend their lives. They were extending the lives of 80-year-old plants. When George W. Bush came into office, there were 654 coal-fired plants in this nation for electric power. And when he left, there was 595, which means they dropped 10%. I don't think they're going to claim Bush had a war on coal.
No, he's the wrong party for that.
And because those plants were 80 years old, they were closing them because they were obsolete, and they replaced them with gas, primarily gas, which is cleaner and a hell of a lot cheaper. Because in 2005, a million BTU of gas cost $15. Now you can buy it for about $2.80. I've seen it down
Right.
it was $1.80, and gas is going to fall by the wayside eventually too, for other reasons, or it's going to be used to power electric plants to charge those electric cars, and other things like that. And so is solar, so is wind. Hey, when I go to Europe, man, you got those big fields of those turbines.
Oh yeah.
Gosh, they're huge. They're gigantic, They're hell on birds and they cause cancer out here. But I mean,
Right. Right.
ultimately, the issue is that is, I don't know why they don't use waves, I've heard that concept. They can use the power of waves to generate electricity.
I saw something about
Now,
that not too long ago.
yeah, well, we're all the same. So, lovely world of YouTube and Google, we're all going to get the same damn information.
Right.
The biggest thing that I've heard about the wave, collecting the wave energy, yes, if I remember correctly, it's basically like a windmill under the water.
Yeah.
It's incredibly expensive to do. It may be a reliable option in the future. My main concerns with that is wildlife situations, but I don't. I've got a feeling that there's some information about that we don't have yet, and
Yeah.
I have not done enough research to say. As long as, because I do see on where it could be incredibly expensive and also wreak havoc on wildlife in those areas.
I can see that too. But initial cost is quite often
Yes, high. Yeah,
But
that's not a discouragement in order to do it. For crying out loud, I am one on where I'm like, as far as the economy goes, like if it's better for the world, do it. The economy, as I've said before, all money is fake in my eyes. Does it hold power? Yes. But it holds power for pretty much all the wrong reasons. Yes, I buy things. Yes, I enjoy the finer things sometimes, but it's just the principle of, you gotta.
All right.
But at
It
the
looks
end of the
like we're
day,
gonna run out of time here, so
I did not get the message.
Yeah, we'll be right back. All right, well, welcome back. We were on the topic of alternative power sources, I believe.
I'm glad you remembered because I didn't.
Yeah, they're an important thing.
Well, I believe, Derek, you were talking about the wave power energy.
Oh yes, it's something that I'm definitely interested in. I will have to look more into that. Not that I'm going to change the damn technology. I'm not an engineer, for Christ's sakes. Just a person, damn it. But I've been trying to keep tabs on a lot of different kind of energy sources. Like Toyota's getting ready to come out with a new battery that could potentially change the game. And Toyota usually, they have recalls, yes, but they usually don't take bad steps per se. If they come out with a piece
other
of
than the throttle sticking on a lot of cars back there,
yeah, that's not important.
10 years ago.
Yeah,
I remember that.
but it wasn't a technology change. That was a part change. Their technology usually stays solid. Sometimes their delivery is not the best, but their technology is that they put inside their cars is always top notch.
Yeah, for the record, I own a Camry, so
yes. Some of the Toyota cars I know that are still up and running are just ungodly. But even the original Prius, a lot of times, if they are having issues with those, it's a cheap fix. It's something that's quick. So I have faith in them. And the main battery change is a solid state battery that does not require lithium ion, which will also stop the cobalt mines. There's a lot more that goes into it than that. But my main point is that I've got a feeling they're about to change the electric car game.
Well, did you see that Elon Musk has a new battery that they've unveiled because, you know, he wants to make a solar or a battery powered airplane?
No, I have not known that.
Because like Boeing and other aircraft companies have said that's impossible because of the battery life. And Elon Musk is like, well, our R&D people have this new battery that we were going to tell you all about that has like 10 times the lifespan and is a solid state battery.
Of course, because everything that is solid state is better. It doesn't matter.
I think Elon Musk is an alien.
I don't think you know what? Here's the thing. The man is like, he's definitely something. I will not consider him an alien. He finds aliens, it seems like. That's what I'm going to give him the benefit of, is that he has a knack for getting people together and pointing them in the right direction.
Right.
That's where I'm going to give him credit, because I could be wrong on this, but he's not a true rocket scientist. He's not. He understands how things work, though. He has a bunch of general knowledge about a lot of different things, and that's why it seems like he's everywhere. But
that's really what it is about all these startups too, though. A lot of times it's more about networking than it is knowledge.
It's about network, and it's also about putting money where it needs to go.
Yeah, and putting the right people in the right places.
You know,
Elon Musk is flying a bit too close to the sun too many times. One of these times, he's not going to make that trip back.
Yes.
A new product that is going to help get solar to more people, I believe, is a product called Solar Flower. If you ever want to look it up, it basically looks like an old, you know, early 90s satellite dish. Okay, that's about the size of it, and you put it in your yard and it deploys. It folds out into a flat surface and it tracks the sun. Nice. And if the wind is too high, it folds up, goes away. When it's dark, it folds up, goes away. So if you imagine it just being something like a satellite dish today that everyone just has in their yard, you know, it could become that feasible.
Well,
yeah, right now it's not cheap.
You've got that, and the other thing that I read about a few weeks ago, it's just a new solar panel, but it's, if I'm not mistaken, it's like an ink form. The shit is so thin it can be placed on the outside of a bubble, like soap bubbles.
Oh, that's cool.
And it can be created using inkjet printers. Like inkjet printer heads is what it can be created with. Now, I don't know much beyond that. Read the article. It just said that it can hold energy and act just like a solar panel, but it's that thin. And you start thinking about that, and then you start thinking about electric cars, and you start thinking about clear coating your car with a solar panel. How freaking cool would that be to not have one of those ridiculous cars that we all seen in our textbooks in the 90s, solar cars that are one person. I'm just like, yes, I'm glad we're funding this now.
Right.
So yeah, alternative energy sources is a great thing. Yeah, I got nothing else on that.
I think regulatory, the regulatory push, particularly recently, I think is kind of the nail in the coffin for a lot of this older technology. But again, I think it's regulation, and it's probably demand to some degree too. People are getting sick of being ignored. I think most of the population at this point realizes that climate change is a problem. Our world is changing, and most of that change is proving to be caused by human activity. We've seen that to some degree just during the lockdowns. I mean, that I think people are getting irritated because these companies can, there are a lot of companies that still, or at least up until recently, were continuing to ignore that and pretend like it wasn't a problem, or just, simply say, we don't care, we're not going to do anything right now because it's not profitable to do so. But with the change in administration, especially here, and sentiments abroad, I think we are going to see a move in a different direction, and I think the companies that refuse to change are ultimately going to go under. That being said, again, I really think that regulation and using legislation and using taxes and things like that to push these companies in certain directions is going to be key going forward, because they're simply not going to move if you don't make them.
And, speaking of, space age technology and such, I believe Bill wanted to talk about Jewish space lasers.
Jewish space
Yes. And I'm looking up some headwear made of tinfoil that will armor us against such things. Oh, stupid. Marjorie Taylor Greene out of Georgia. QAnon or Kukanon or Quackanon, whatever you call them.
Which is crazy.
Driven came out a few months ago and said that the fires out in California out in the West were a direct consequence of Jewish space lasers focusing on those areas to cause fires. She also thinks that and she also believes you should that Pelosi and Pence and all the AOC should all be lynched or beheaded in some painful manner.
Right.
She also has made racist statements. She also chased that kid, David
Hogg. Yeah.
Chased him down right after the event of the shooting. Harangued him in public.
Where was all this when she was running?
Exactly. Al Franken resigned from Congress because of a photograph where he pretended to grab the breasts of a woman who was sleeping, who might very well have been in on the posing. And that Katie Hill out in California, her husband and Al had to resign. And then Katie Hill, a California congresswoman, she resigned after her husband did a revenge porn posting of nude photographs of her. If that's nothing compared to what this crazy bimbo's doing.
She's dangerous, man. She's like, I wonder if she's like schizophrenic or something.
She's beyond that. And the whole thing is, here's what you got. You got a confederacy of terror groups.
Yeah.
And the umbrella for them is the Republican Party, which to my mind makes the Republican Party a terror organization. Because
they've already found out that a lot of no, I don't want to say a lot, but like there's at least 5 or 6 of them in the House.
Are Nazis.
Yeah, flat out.
And a Nazi is not a deal breaker. Okay, being a bigot's not a deal breaker. Being corrupt is not a deal breaker. You got Southern preachers calling Kamala Harris, because apparently she had an affair in California many years ago, a Jezebel. Those same clowns, those same dumbasses, are calling Donald Trump a godly man.
Yeah, yeah. How many?
The standards, the principles of the Republican Party and the Southern Baptists are made of that green jello you used to get for lunch.
They don't have any. They don't exist. Period. They're like.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, the Southern Baptist Convention might as well just be the KKK.
I don't know how they stand upright with a spine like that,
I mean, they do spend a lot of time on their knees, right?
Oh boy.
Blowing Donald Trump, apparently.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, truly. I mean, I don't know how you could honestly call yourself a good person and be a member of that organization.
I think they stood in line and drew names every morning to see who got to paint Donald Trump's face.
Yeah. Well,
who is his makeup artist?
Who won today's belt buckle that said "Got Mittens"?
No shit. For real.
The old saying, and Lincoln paraphrases. I'm paraphrasing Lincoln. He said these people think God's on their side, and you know they don't. These people don't give a damn or a thought about whether or not they're on God's side. You know, they just
You
want him on.
know, there's a you keep seeing the slogan, and actually, you know, I don't know if you heard, what was it? Was it the was it Arizona or somewhere out there out west? There's a state or local GOP organization that was using the whole "We Are the Storm" slogan from QAnon.
Yeah.
And you know that I can't say this with absolute 100% certainty, but based on the you know the penchant for literally just ripping shit straight from like Nazi propaganda that these people have, there is a Hitler Youth song that uses that. It's, you know, Wir sind der Sturm der Revolution, and that's basically the same thing. We're the storm, the revolution, or the storm of the revolution. You know.
Well,
I
I
mean,
don't know.
it's just funny because like you hear things like that coming from not just you know, QAnon fuckers. Like they literally, I mean, the whole thing is a Nazi conspiracy, and then you have the GOP that is repeating these slogans, and these slogans are coming directly from Nazi songs and, you know, speeches and propaganda and you know, I mean, it's obvious.
But you can't bring that to the attention of the public because you call us Nazis. No, they're not. That's bad. You can't call us Nazis.
But they
That's
are,
breaking
yeah.
Godwin's law. And they want to deny it all the while they're doing it. I mean, you know.
But Godwin's law is literally an internet joke, and the guy that came up with it absolutely condoned calling these people Nazis because he was concerned himself that they were overusing the Godwin's law thing to protect themselves.
If you can't make the analogy, the law is telling you to forget history, which is what going to cause you to repeat it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
These
that
people-
being said, it's not any kind of law. It's
Oh,
just
I know. I mean, I know what it is. But
something
I mean,
that originated on
my point
forums.
being that it's these people are this. They're it's not a deal breaker to wear a swastika for these people. It's not a deal breaker to wear a T-shirt that says Camp Auschwitz staff
Yeah.
on it.
No.
You know, not a deal breaker.
Going along with that, you know, them talking about a lot of the bombs that they found at the Capitol on January 6th, they're now saying were planted the night before. Where the hell was security and the police? Did they just not look? Did they not see pipe bombs laying around?
Did they not see someone planting them?
What part of
they
what
got
happened?
security camera footage now of them?
Yeah.
But apparently not the night of.
Right.
What part of what happened could not be anticipated? It's foreseeable. I mean, it all was. I mean, they had BLM and supposedly Antifa, whatever that may be, there a few months ago, and they had the place surrounded like unbelievable, like
right.
Starship Troopers, you know. And then, then they put the Keystone Cops out here this time.
Well, people were reporting left and right the you know, the shit that was going on forums and stuff. You know, like the Donald and you know, on Parler and Gab and all that. I mean, they were talking about it openly. They had plans. They were talking about how they were going to get in, what they were going to use. Like, I mean, this was planned in advance and it was planned out in the open. They knew what was happening and they chose not to do anything about it.
Well, I mean, I you know, that we declared a war on terror in 2001.
Yeah.
They need to declare a war on domestic terror in 2021.
Right.
You know, literally.
Before domestic terror literally declares a war on us. Which
Confederate Libertarian. By the way, the Libertarian Party, they are Confederates. Let's put that clear.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, they're the party of whoever's not in charge.
But they try to play the constitutional card that you cannot surveil. Well, you know, if you got probable cause, you can. All right.
Right.
And like that clown Rand Paul worrying about they whacked that Middle Eastern terrorist. He got his son too. Well, you know, that's dad's fault, not the guys that whacked dad. He put him in that circumstance. I mean, hell, if we stop killing collateral damage, if we'd done it in 1939, 40, we never would have won World War II. You know?
No. I mean, without the mass bombing campaigns of World War II, that war would have never ended.
Exactly.
I mean, civilians were collateral damage. That's how you win. You make the country suffer.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
But the other poor bastard die for his country so bad.
Yeah. I mean, you know, now I'm trying to think of which Union general it was, you know, decided to bring the war to the Confederacy, to the civilian population, because he figured that was the way you end the war. Let's make the people suffer.
Sherman.
Yeah.
Sure.
Now, during our John, during your introduction today, I'm going to change the subject.
Oh, go ahead.
Bill, you brought up Rand Paul, and he has been like a thorn in my spine this week. Just about, I'm on his emailing list, and I got his email about the whole abortion situation and me being really just pro-choice all the way. It just kind of set me off. But either way, John, getting back to the whole introduction thing, you had brought up Bernie Sanders and him single-handedly showing how things can be done. And I just kind of wanted you to elaborate on that. I wanted to make sure we came back around to that because I don't have the tongue to explain it right now, but I'm kind of hoping that I can bring you into it.
Oh, well, I mean, Bernie Sanders basically, you know, got his charts out and was basically, you know, schooling the Republicans in Senate about, you know, how, you know, socialism for the rich is something that they've pulled for years, you know, and it's the direct opposite of what they're asking for is, you know, money for the individuals, you know, not for the rich. You know, the Republicans have no problem. Like he used 2018 as an example. Amazon didn't pay any taxes in 2018, but they got a government subsidy for over $128 million. And the Republicans approved that.
There's nothing. The fossil fuel industry gets $4 billion a year.
Yeah.
Why? Why are they subsidizing the coal business? It's a not viable business.
Right, because the coal business funds their campaigns.
Well, I guess that's a way to circle jerk.
It really is. I mean, it's just basically they pay them to pass the laws.
Well, you know, that ties into something I said earlier. You know, Republicans think, you know, that you bring it up and say that there's a war on coal, that automatically, you know, coal will spawn in the ground in eastern Kentucky and jobs will come back to those towns that, you know, are going to shit because there's no coal there any longer.
It's not easily obtained. It's not going to be by miners. It's going to be by machines.
Right.
It's what caused the decline in coal jobs anyway. Machinery. No war on coal. Because directly converse used to be one miner could produce so many tons of coal. A machine can now do what 40 miners can do. They don't need them anymore. And they were disposable back then, they're disposable now.
Well, that's part of the problem with the greater economy too. I mean, you've got so many jobs that literally like a machine can do.
Yeah.
Which is why it should be one in which people have more leisure time, less stress, less of a struggle to live, because it's going to be machinery that does the jobs. And isn't that what the future is supposed to be? You know, remember the Jetsons? You jump on that conveyor belt and
if you acknowledge that,
yeah.
If you acknowledge that capitalism was supposed to be kind of a pathway to that, but now we've got people that literally look at capitalism as some kind of pseudo religion.
Deity.
And it has to be, you know, we have to prop up the system to make sure the system continues to exist, even though it's obsolete.
Make sure the machinery of capitalism continues to exist so that it can continue to exist. Holding on to capitalism in the current burst of technology is like people in the 21st century holding on to the horse and buggy.
That's why we still have people taping boxes together.
So does capitalism.
Now, I will say, as far as tape machines go, what little bit I've dealt with those, the ones that I dealt with, the hell with those things. I'm sure that they make them better because, the place where we used to work.
I get that,
they
but
were
I mean, look at
10 years old.
right. But
Damn,
at this
those were
point,
horrible.
there are plenty of jobs like that are automated and can be automated, and it really comes down to we're cheaper. Humans are cheaper.
For now. And whenever I talk about this with other people outside of this platform, I totally get to the point on where something along the lines of socialism, like the reason as to why I feel as if it hasn't worked in the past is strictly due to technology. Our technology is starting to catch up, and I personally feel as if we are purposely holding back technology because they don't have a system in place yet on where the people in power can stay in power moving forward. At least not upset the balance or the imbalance that we currently have.
I think it's a chicken egg question, though. What, does socialism bring us the future, or does the future bring us socialism?
The future brings us socialism.
It's going to bring us socialism by attrition to something. I don't want to say generally by some. You can't label it. I don't think it's appropriate to label it socialism. I think you label whatever is done a solution. Okay, universal health care is a solution.
Yeah,
I'm not sure that everything's going to be socialism. Some things will be. And there might be some elements of capitalism. There might be, I got out and out red star communism at some point, or some concept that we haven't even considered yet.
Right.
Well, and
I think the future is going to bring it. The catalyst that socialism is not going to be a catalyst for the future. It's the other way around.
We can't be afraid to move forward, I think is the point of this.
Absolutely.
It's just like whenever we first started the minimum wage, that's where the statement, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Like that was the whole context of that was like, we have to change this. We can't be afraid of this because it's come to this point now. We don't have a choice.
Yeah.
And a lot of people take those words out of context. And pushing forward, you have to leave that to the side. And I believe that we're at that point on where we are holding on. So we've had such a death grip on our current standards, our current situation, and we don't want to move forward, and we have to.
Yeah. Well, and
they want to go backwards to a past that never was.
Right.
They got a concept of the past as if it was utopia. It wasn't.
No.
And
yeah, they all think it was Leave It to Beaver.
It was Leave It to Beaver with Emmett Till,
Yeah.
Beaver and his friends would have beaten Emmett Till to death.
Right.
That's the reality of it.
Yeah, and what was his mom? I
That's
mean, I don't know.
Even buy a house
his mom and dad. His mom was probably addicted to something, and his dad probably beat him.
Yeah, right.
That's pretty much the 50s.
And alcohol was a central part of their existence, and
right.
And they were beaten by their parents because the woodshed was a common thing, and it was good for the little bastards,
Right.
No,
and you had to build a fallout shelter out back because duck and cover.
Exactly. And
all the adults smoking around the kids in the house, to the point where everyone ends up with lung cancer.
I'm having flashback. But there was good things. There used to be this shelf in the sedans, right under the back window.
Yeah.
We could ride under it. We could ride on that.
Nice.
You flew out to the windshield, just.
It's just
So
yeah, time before car seats, huh?
All right. Probably seatbelts
and regulation.
Child missiles.
Right.
Child missiles.
So, Bill, one thing I do want to bring up, I'm not going to talk about it much. I'm just going to bring this up as a slotted statement. I'm currently reading a book. It's called Shot in the Moonlight. I'm listening to it anyway. I don't, yeah. But it's about a guy that was a slave that bought land in southern Kentucky, um, and he was protecting himself one night and shot a white hat.
KKK.
Yes. Sorry, I got choked up on my spit. That's why I'm drinking so much water today. But it's about his court case in particular. I can't remember the names right now. Jesus, I bring it up and I go blank. But it's all about the court cases that this man has had. I think one of his lawyers was actually a Confederate soldier that ended up doing a lot of work for black adoption agencies. What are those things called? Foster. He did a lot of work for them. The same Confederate soldier did a lot for them. So far, it's been a pretty good listen, and it's just a past court case. And if you're into that, I was just going to recommend it.
I mean, I appreciate that. The tragedies of the period were glossed over. I mean, there were massacres. Tulsa, mass graves still being found where whites massacred. There was a Black Wall Street out there.
Yeah.
And the whites were so jealous, angry, envious, whatever. They rioted, killed them all, put them in mass graves.
Just kind of related to that topic, did you guys hear about what happened in Louisiana? A black cop died of cancer, and they went to have him buried in a cemetery, and the cemetery basically told them that because of a clause in their agreements or their contracts, that it could only be white people.
Absolutely.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, there are people, there are deeds. I bet I can find deeds here in Grant County, and you can in Boone County, I'm sure, that there are provisions therein where it says this property shall not be conveyed to anyone of the darker race. Okay, unenforceable. That was unenforceable. That was a lie. I did note that the guy who ran the place, who felt like he had to enforce the clause, owned his own. He said he couldn't sell you one, but I'll give you one of mine, and I appreciate that. But an issue. That's
I don't.
The clause.
It's bullshit.
Yeah, the only reason as to why I brought up that book is because it was a court case that specifically happened in the state of Kentucky. And it was the court case of George Denning.
Denning?
Denning, Dinning. He was also because like after he did that, he turned himself in after he found out that he killed somebody that came to his house that night, but they also burned down his house, and he turned around and sued those same group of men for the damages, and he was the first black man to do so. Like I said, I've just brought it up randomly because just with everything going on, it was just released to me on this app, and I just it's an 1890s case that happened in Kentucky. I know who you are, and I was just like, you know what, I need to say that because otherwise I'll forget.
That is the past to which they want to return.
Yeah.
I mean, you heard the song "Strange Fruit," I'm sure.
No.
Heard it? You guys heard it?
I may have.
Billie Holiday talking about strange fruit hanging from trees. It wasn't fruit; it was people. Lynchings.
Yeah. Oh, okay, I got you. I was gonna say the name sounds familiar, but I don't know anything about
it. It's their civic duty to lynch a black person. That they would burn them alive. They would drown them. They'd castrate them. They'd cut out their noses and ears. It was like very much like what the Germans did to the Jews, because they did the same thing.
The Germans were inspired by our laws and the way we did that.
They were inspired by our treatment of blacks and African Americans. I'm sorry, Native Americans. the extermination, the genocide, which is what it was, what we did.
The only difference is the United States got away with it.
Largely, yeah.
And we glorify it. I mean, in what other country do you have such an act that we allow children to go play cowboys and Indians?
Do they still do that, though?
Yeah.
I mean,
And do you see statues of Nazi officials in Germany?
No.
You're right. You're right. But I got kids that come here. I had a kid come here a couple of weeks ago, and I just questioned him about World War II, and he said, "Did they use that rifle there in World War II?" Rifle, for Christ's sake! No, they didn't use that. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't teach that stuff in schools. They basically just teach we won and we were the heroes, and they don't talk about anything else.
That's right.
Yeah, well, in public school, World War II is 2 paragraphs or 2 pages if you're lucky.
That's been for a long time. When I was a kid, we just glossed over World War I and World War II in history.
Yeah.
Yeah, the rest of it's usually about the foundation of the country and, all that romantic stuff they like to talk about.
The mythology.
Yeah.
I lived in Virginia when I was a kid up to the 2nd grade up to the 8th grade. And they teach Virginia history in Virginia. So the thing about Virginia history and that sort is that it's American history, because Virginia was all of American history for the first 60 years or so.
Right.
Play by Philadelphia and things like that. But no, the horrors of that, I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, I've seen Holocaust sites in Europe, but you can see them right here in places like Tulsa.
Oh, yeah.
And other places where they lynched people, and there's more than one mass killing of blacks by whites.
Yep.
And they want, and how the hell they can justify the people that do the stupid stuff they do right now, even conceiving of that in the 21st century with what we're supposed to have absorbed and evolved into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was under the surface for a while, and now it's out in the open because people actually drew attention to it.
Well, there's a cornered animal. A cornered, wounded animal is dangerous.
Absolutely. And that is the collective.
So is the Republican Party, because it's cornered and it's wounded, because they played the short game, not the long game. And
right.
They're so desperate, they will latch on to the hate groups and the militias. But even that's they don't have the resources to do much more, because
outside of taking things by force, they don't have much to go on, because I mean, ultimately the country is moving the opposite direction of them. People, young people, you've got those that are falling into the rabbit hole, but largely I think, with each generation, people are becoming more and more left wing, because they have access to, our generation. We can talk to people from across the world without going anywhere. And God forbid you do go anywhere, because you step foot in a developed country and it's like, oh my God, I literally live in a country that's comparable to Russia. I mean, and that's what it feels like.
We are, compared to a lot of places in Europe today, what the Soviet Union was to us 40 years ago.
I mean, rural America is so dilapidated. It really is hard to tell the difference between areas in rural America and places in Eastern Europe that are just completely broken down, and the remnants of like you said, former Soviet states.
Yeah, I mean, they're broken down because they don't have the subsidies from the larger Soviet state to keep them afloat.
And you've got Kentucky. Kentucky's a wonderful example. It's like, everyone talks about Kentucky, and they keep wanting to talk about Mitch McConnell. Oh, well, he gets stuff for Kentucky. What? I mean, honestly, what does he get? Because I mean, our roads are terrible. Our everything's broken down. I mean, our cities are dirty. Our jobs are low quality. And you know, there are places where the water is completely undrinkable. I mean, like, what is he doing for Kentucky other than, you know, playing an ideological game?
Well,
And looks like we're down to the final minute again. So you guys want to continue or?
I think I'm done for the night. I got a few other things I need to get to.
Okay.
I think
all right. Well, thanks for watching, and join us next week for another episode.
We're Republicans. Yeah.